You wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding a little harder than usual. There's a soft blur around the edges of your memory, like fog hugging the shoreline just before dawn. And then it hits you. You were dreaming about your ex. Not just any ex, but that one. The one you thought you'd buried deep in the sands of time. The one you haven't spoken to in years. The one who still, against all logic, shows up now and then in the secret theater of your mind when your guard is down. It's unsettling, right? Or confusing. Or oddly comforting. And whether you're currently single, happily committed, or somewhere in the in-between, that dream can leave a strange echo that lingers long after your alarm clock has snapped you back to reality. But why does this happen? Why do we dream about people who are no longer part of our waking lives? What does it mean when someone from your past, especially a romantic partner, keeps slipping into your subconscious? Are these dreams just random firings of neurons? Or are they messengers bearing fragments of unresolved feelings, half-buried regrets, or unanswered questions? The short answer: it's complicated. The long answer? Well, that's where it gets really interesting. You see, dreams have fascinated philosophers and psychologists for centuries, not just because they're weird, but because they seem to be a window into something more essential, more raw, more us. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. And while not everything Freud said has aged well, this idea still rings true. Jung believed our dreams were conversations between our conscious selves and something deeper, older, a kind of inner storyteller that mixes personal memories with universal symbols. Meanwhile, modern neuroscience offers its own theories. Dreams might be your brain's way of processing emotions, consolidating memories, or running what-if simulations while you're asleep. The thing is, all these perspectives point to one undeniable truth. Dreams mean something, even if we're not always sure what. And when it comes to dreaming about an ex, we're stepping into a particularly charged and vulnerable space. Love, real love, leaves an imprint on the psyche. And the end of love doesn't always mean the end of the story in our inner world. That's where things get murky. A dream about an ex could be a sign of unresolved grief, a craving for emotional closure, a reflection of current dissatisfaction, or even just the mind's nostalgic wanderings through old emotional terrain. Sometimes, it's not really about the ex at all. It's about who you were when you were with them, or who you hope to become. So no, you're not weird for dreaming about your ex. You're human. And if you're willing to look a little deeper, these dreams might reveal something surprisingly profound. Not just about the person you once loved, but about where you are now, what you're longing for, and what parts of yourself are still in the process of healing. But first, let's pause here. Take a breath. Think about your dream again. Not just what happened, but how it made you feel. That feeling? That's where the story really begins. So, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. From a psychological perspective, dreaming about an ex isn't necessarily about them. It's about you, your emotional state, your memories, your unfinished business, and maybe even your deepest fears or unmet needs. At first, that might sound like a bit of a letdown. You might be hoping for a cosmic message, a spiritual sign, or some kind of psychic link. But honestly, what's going on in your own mind can be just as mysterious and meaningful. Let's start with memory. The human brain doesn't file away experiences in neat folders labeled done or irrelevant. Emotional memories, especially those tied to intense feelings like love, loss, or betrayal, tend to stick around. They get stored in a more vivid, accessible way than neutral experiences. So when you're asleep and your brain is doing its nightly processing, sorting, organizing, cleaning house, it's natural for those emotionally charged memories to rise to the surface. If you had a strong connection with someone, especially over a long period of time, your brain still holds onto that pattern. It doesn't mean you still love them or want them back. It might just mean your subconscious recognizes that this person was part of your emotional blueprint. Then there's attachment theory, one of the most influential psychological frameworks when it comes to relationships. Developed by John Bowlby and expanded by Mary Ainsworth, attachment theory suggests that the way we bond with our caregivers in childhood shapes how we relate to romantic partners later in life. If you had a secure bond with your ex, dreaming about them might reflect a craving for that feeling of safety and intimacy, even if you're currently single or with someone new. On the other hand, if the relationship was chaotic or emotionally inconsistent, Your dream might be a reenactment of unresolved tension. In either case, it's not necessarily the person you're yearning for. It's the emotional state they represented. Another key player is the subconscious mind. This is the part of you that stores beliefs, feelings, desires, and wounds that you might not even be fully aware of when you're awake. You go through your day acting like everything's fine. You answer emails, fold laundry, maybe even flirt with someone new. But at night, your subconscious slips out from behind the curtain and starts mixing a strange cocktail of memory, emotion, and metaphor. It's a space where the usual rules don't apply. So your ex might show up in a dream not because you miss them, but because your subconscious is trying to make sense of something else, maybe loneliness, fear of rejection, or even a decision you're struggling to make in your current life. And here's where it gets even more layered. Your ex might also symbolize something non-romantic entirely. Maybe they represent a time in your life when you felt more free, more desired, more creative, more alive. Or maybe they remind you of who you used to be, before the heartbreak, before the responsibilities, before things got complicated. In that case, the dream isn't about getting back together. It's about reconnecting with a lost part of yourself. Psychologists often warn against interpreting dreams too literally, and that's especially true with dreams about past lovers. The dream where your ex shows up and kisses you might not mean you want them back. It might mean you miss feeling wanted. The one where they cheat on you again could be your mind's way of reliving the betrayal, trying to understand it or gain some power over it this time around. And the dream where they simply exist, just sitting there in your living room like no time has passed at all, that might be your brain testing your emotional reaction, checking to see, does this still hurt? So, is it bad to dream about your ex? Not at all. In fact, these dreams can be incredible tools for self-awareness. They can reveal cracks in your emotional wall, places where you're still healing, parts of your identity that want your attention. The dream might not give you all the answers, but it usually leaves clues. And the more curious and compassionate you are with yourself, the more those clues start to make sense. So, what does it mean when you dream about your ex? After digging through all the layers, psychology, memory, emotion, longing, it becomes clear that the dream isn't really about them. It's about you, your inner world, your unfinished thoughts, the subtle emotional echoes still moving beneath the surface. Sometimes, it's just your mind doing a bit of spring cleaning. Sometimes, it's highlighting something you're missing now, a kind of closeness, a sense of being seen, a time in your life when you felt more alive. And sometimes, it's your subconscious gently pointing at a place within you that still hurts, asking you to notice it. The important thing to remember is this: dreaming about your ex doesn't mean you're not over them. Forgetting is not the goal. We don't truly erase people who once mattered to us. We grow around them. We carry the memories, the lessons, the scars, and, yes, sometimes, the dreams. Not because we're stuck, but because we're still human. And part of being human is occasionally looking back, even as we keep walking forward. So if you wake up from a dream like that and feel confused or shaken, don't rush to judge it. Don't panic. Instead, get curious. Ask yourself not, why did I dream about them? But what part of me is speaking through this dream? Maybe it's a need for closure. Maybe it's a craving for connection. Maybe it's just a fragment of the past, floating through your mental sky like a piece of driftwood. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to not have all the answers. And if you're in the middle of healing, whether from that breakup or from something else entirely, let these dreams be a reminder that healing isn't linear. Sometimes we revisit old rooms in our sleep so we can finally close the door with peace, not pain. Other times, we return not because we want to stay, but because something inside us is ready to leave for good. In the end, dreams about exes are less about rekindling something with another person and more about reconnecting with parts of ourselves, our desires, our hurts, our capacity to feel deeply. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real gift. Not the dream itself, but what it gently reveals, that you are still learning, still growing, still becoming. And that's beautiful.